enjoying the vibes and you're enjoying the tunes, but it's now time to tune in to the Black Love Club.
It's the Black Love Club. We on the radio. Turn the speaker up. You could tune in this live stream, but vibe into the dial into the station. Join the conversation. Hey yo, say the Black Love Club is on the radio. You could tune into the live stream, just vibe into the dial into the station. Hey yo, yeah, the Black Love Club, we on the radio. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Black Love Club. I'm your host, Nikki Talks, and I have also the hosts Richard Roots and Edgar Prime. There you go.
We live.
Right. Okay, had to make sure your volume was good. All right, you guys. So I'm so excited, to be back. And you know, last week we had a little new arrival, not on our team, but just a new arrival coming.
She could be on our team.
No, I'm talking about the baby.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the baby was the new arrival. It's not her. She been born, but but we do have Ebony Jones here today, you guys. So I'm really excited, and I just want to welcome you guys to the Black Love Club. And just remember that here at the Black Love Club, we're here to remind you that Black love is real, Black love is strong, and Black love still exists. So thank you guys for tuning in. And I want to ask everybody, how's your week been going? Shout out to April. Look, April always the first one in the room. Look, April, she coming for like the top fan spot, so
she gonna have to fight Miss Barbara.
But how's y'all week been going? Like me, I feel like I haven't done anything because y'all probably can hear it. I've been like congested. The pollen is ridiculous. It's like it's windy. It's ridiculous. But I don't know. My week has been wiping kids' nose and running from snots. April said her week has been great and very blessed.
That's good to hear.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, my week was good. I'm excited. I worked on a project with my son, my oldest son, and it was so cool. I might post those pictures. Videos, because he actually was like handling a drill by himself. You know, yeah, that was exciting. It was cool because it went from there. It went from him saying the drill is too heavy to now he's just like operating the drill. And for those who don't know, he's only 4.
No,
he's 5.
Okay. I was like, wait,
yeah,
hold
they grow up so fast.
But yeah, so. Yeah, I was very excited to see him do that too. That was like very cute. I was like, oh, that's my baby. Yeah, so trying to give him all the love. What about you, Prime?
Oh man, I've had a pretty good week. I've been working with a company, ASAP Ballet, and they're currently in the process of expanding, looking to bring on new people. So if you're looking for work, it's a great company to get started with. It's Black owned, and you know they're doing good things. So look out for them, ASAP Ballet.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to ASAP.
Yeah, if you need a little job, come on and get it. So, all right. So, anywho, we're gonna go ahead and keep on going. Now, he just stepped out the room. We're going to do it. Today we're talking about, is marriage still the goal or is it outdated? And y'all, all week we were going around asking people questions. We're out there. Well, Prime and Richard was out there, and they got some really great videos, so check those out. Those will be uploaded and stuff like that on our pages, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Some of them are already uploaded too. Go check them out.
Yeah, check them out.
And leave a comment.
Yeah, and yeah, tell us a little bit about the topic, because that was your thing.
The street topic or today?
Today's topic.
Oh, today's topic. Today's topic is the topic we've all been waiting for. Today's topic is marriage still a thing? You know what? And I want to be more specific. Is black marriage still a thing, or is it outdated?
Yeah, that's a good thing. He has some statistics too with that. Now, getting into I'm about to go ahead and switch over into our news segment of the day with me, where we just highlight things that are happening in the community with our people and the good things, even some of the bad things. So, yeah, let's go ahead. All right. So, what I've been searching. And last week I told you guys about Carmelo Anthony. Now, he was the African-American teen who fatally stabbed Austin McCaff, right? Now, he was just released. He's been released from jail after his bond was reduced from $1 million, which is just really outlandish. It was crazy, to $250,000. Now he is being charged right now with first-degree murder, and the case remains under investigation. At a bond hearing on Monday, a judge approved Anthony's release under strict conditions. So according to Fox News, he's now under house arrest and must wear an ankle monitor. He can only leave the home with the judge's permission. And his Give Go Sin raised $428,000 to cover his legal expenses. So I definitely feel like in his situation, I feel like some grace should definitely be given, because which is real crazy. I don't know how we have all these cell phones, and I have not seen anybody come out with a video about really what happened. Like, kids record everything, and you know, I've heard things, but we don't know what's true or whatever. So it's like, come on out with the stuff. I know we have some stuff. I feel like some grace should definitely be given to him, because he has no track record of being a bad kid, you know. But, you know, these kids obviously allegedly have track records of just kind of bullying and different things like that. So we're all going to find out eventually. You know, I hate to see somebody's life go down the drain like that. So, especially when it's one of ours, you know, for anybody. I mean, but at the same time, just like they said, hey, when all these school shootings were happening, these kids were not getting these crazy bonds, and you know, like which one happened, and they took them to McDonald's to get food or something. Like, so it's like, what is going on? But yeah, so definitely, I really hope some grace happens in that situation. Now, going on, we just over this week, I was just watching, and I don't know if you guys watch this, but Pop the Balloon. Anybody watch Pop the Balloon? And I really like that show because it's actually very entertaining, and it really shows you the state of these people's mindset. But in Pop the Balloon, they also have just been aired on Netflix, so they had a deal with Netflix. All right, so everybody thought that Arlette, the normal host, was going to be on it, but then there was a switch up. It was Yvonne Orji, and she's the black girl from Insecure. She played Molly, and she phenomenal actor on that show. I enjoyed her, but I did not enjoy her on Netflix. I didn't even enjoy
that. Was not Pop the Balloon challenge on Netflix. I don't know what that was, but that wasn't Pop the Balloon.
It was so terrible. I don't know if you watched it, but if you did, if you go and try to watch it and watch how far you make it through and come back and let us know. Because I think we've made it. The first time I cut it off when Johnny came out behind a tree. It was just weird. This is like this white guy named Johnny. Apparently he has been on other reality TV shows, but like almost all of them have been on other reality. Love Island, I've heard, and stuff like that. So they made it very reality. It wasn't. I think people love Pop the Balloon because it was real people, everyday people. You might see Ebony pop up on there, but you know, it was just everyday people, and it felt so real, so natural, and people was really looking for love. Now, some people probably was looking for clout, you know, obviously, because people gonna do that. But it's just it was like camera lights and like music and theme music, and she was like very extra. I mean, that's her personality, and nothing is wrong with that. But we were looking for like the old thing,
it just
and it
wasn't
was
what we
just
were looking
definitely a flop.
I want to know who's on that creative team because I feel like, hey man, y'all could just come hire us. I mean, because that was just, I mean, they didn't have a hard job. All they had to do was just take what they already had. Because we were excited about Pop the Balloon. So all you had to do was take that and bring it to Netflix.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you were going to get us.
Yeah, and it was not it. People were like, Arlette, where were you? It was just crazy. But it was definitely the comment section. Yeah, if y'all go like just read under her comment section or even the Netflix one, people are just like crazy. And then one thing I think people were really excited about Pop the Balloon, that it was just like all black people. So it was like black people finding black love, and it was pushing that. So this was more, so it's not that like, hey, because it's always a mixture, but we never on the dating shows we never just find us, and something so classy, because when we did have stuff, we had like Flavor of Love, like so it was just real trashy, really hoochie. We remember Flavor of Love,
we do.
But like this show was classy. Most of the women were dressed really nice, so it showed us in such a good light. And it wasn't all that twerking and stuff like that, because obviously there are the ones that that are like
the spin-offs,
the replicas of it, just really crazy, and it's all insane. But this was like classy. We love that. Like, we love seeing our people how most of us really are, right? So it's just like, I love that. But yeah. Anywho, I just wanted to talk about that.
Netflix say, "Oh, y'all thought y'all had one, huh?"
You thought, but yes.
No black love over here.
They say no. It was crazy, and nobody found love. I read on it, and it was like nobody found love.
Because it's a joke. It was a big joke. It just looked like a whole comedy show, and that's what made it so cringe, because it's like, we can see you guys are performers, and it didn't help that they were actors.
Yeah.
So it's just like, nah, this song.
Yeah,
We liked it. We liked the realness of it. Like the people who got famous on Pop the Balloon, it was because they were being their authentic selves. It was just kind of awkward. Like the guy, my favorite guy is the one who said, the face. It's just a bit wrinkly.
A little bit wrinkly. That was hilarious.
I was like, why would he he's standing right in front of the woman. Why say the face instead of saying her face? And why he had to say it's a bit wrinkly?
I was like,
it was just, but this was him trying to be polite.
Yeah, he just
even
was
in
very,
that he wasn't trying to be rude. That's what made it so funny,
but
because
it
he
was
was
just
trying.
so funny.
But
I feel bad, like, man, that's crazy. Look, y'all, but yeah, Pop the Balloon, it is on Netflix. Comes out, there's a new episode, I think that's coming out tomorrow. So if you want to torture yourself through it, or just see if it gets better,
the face,
go ahead and see.
just a bit wrinkly.
But yes,
sorry, I can't get that out of my head.
y'all, let's go ahead and switch over, because we're about to get into the topic. Look, people already showing up in the comments. Brianna, shout out to Brianna. She's in the comments, and she said she is ready for this combo. And
Yes.
look, we ready for it too. So look, I'm gonna just hear some exciting music, because we're about to get ready.
Yeah, I think
What's
Ebony's
up,
been
Herbalist
cooking for
Table?
2 weeks.
Travis, he's
I
in
need
the
to learn this
comments.
dance.
Yes, I know. I'm excited, you guys. No, Travis said the comment about the wrinkly face was he dang near spit his drink out.
Hey, I'm telling you, that's my favorite one, bro.
That was, yeah, I think we watched that like that clip just like too many times. It was
And it's just because he was just like, he was being honest. Oh, the women came for him, though. Y'all know it. They came for him.
Yeah, I don't think he was being rude though. But yeah. Let's go ahead and jump into the topic. So, you guys, is marriage still the goal, or is it outdated? So that's what we want to know. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Let us know, is marriage still the goal, or is it outdated to you guys? Because we got D. Ebony Jones here today. And Ebony is an amazing person, a doula. That's what she was doing last week. That's why she couldn't make it.
Please forgive me.
Yeah, so
Please
she's a
forgive
doula.
me.
She's amazing. She does it all. But actually, she's narrowing it down. Okay? So she's narrowing it down and really focusing on this. And you're flourishing in this, I should say. You really are.
Thank you.
really
I appreciate it.
So I'm excited to have you. And we got some people that saying it's outdated. Some people are saying it's still a go.
Already?
Oh, it's getting crazy in the comments.
Already. They've been waiting, Lord. They've been waiting.
Hey, come on, y'all. Let's get into it. Come on.
Okay.
Go.
I guess since I'm the guest,
Go ahead.
is marriage still the goal? No. I'm going to say no. I feel what they sold us, the marriage they sold us is not the goal anymore. I feel like a more reciprocal and healthy marriage is now the goal. I feel like what we have known as marriage has been more of the generations before us kind of settling for unhealthy behaviors, toxic, energy and different things. So, but I still feel like, when I talk to my friend groups and different things, it is still the goal. But I feel like the healthy, reciprocal marriages are definitely the goal, and just making sure everyone shows up. I mean, it's not always going to be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 80-20, 90-10, but yeah, I think in some instances it is still the goal. I think the marriage we were sold is outdated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could I ask a follow-up question? When you said that we need a more updated version of that, could you elaborate on what you mean by that? Like, what is that ideal kind of marriage that you're thinking of?
For me, and when I speak to the Black women in my little healing circle, I think the ideal marriage is, for one, I think the one I hear the most is a spiritual connection. Like, what can we pray together? Can we talk about how we're showing up in different things, as well as growth together. So when it comes to like healing, figuring out what healthy communication is like, because that's not something that we see in our community much. We're used to hollering and feeling like fighting for love is what we're supposed to do. So those are some of the things that I feel like would be exuded, as well as, I won't say gender roles, but when it comes to just reciprocating on energy, help around the house, doing certain things, and just getting into that relationship and figuring out what that was. And independence, knowing who you are outside of your partner, and respect for one is really, really big. I think it just really comes down to character and who you are as a person and who we can become together, So I think we are relearning what that is as a generation.
That was very well said. The one question I have in mind is, so in this idea, it sounds kind of like both people are kind of on equal planes, kind of figuring out together. Is there any sort of a hierarchical structure to this marriage? Is this fully we make all decisions together? So so my big question is, what I'm getting at is what happens when we have a conflict? What happens when you feel very strongly, and let's say you got a compelling argument to go left, and I feel very strongly that we should go right? How do we decide which direction to go?
I think personally that's where leadership comes in. I think everyone can lead, but also when it comes, that's where the feminine energy and the masculine energy kind of comes in, of who can step in and be like, okay, hey, this is kind of going too far. Can we slow down, take a step back? So when it comes to conflict, I think conflict is going to happen. I think people don't necessarily understand that healthy conflict is a thing. It's not always going to be perfect. So how do we argue in a healthy way? How do we make sure, what is the goal of this? Are we just arguing just to argue and to go to sleep mad? Or what is the overall goal? So I think a healthier marriage in that, standpoint of just like, I even think from like a male perspective of knowing like, okay, her period about to come on. So I am not about to argue with her, because not saying like she's emotionally unstable, but I know for myself, I can really be an asshole. So it's like, if you know your partner so well, I think that's big in leading and communication well, of knowing like, hey, I'm not going to push this person too far. Like I see maybe I said knowing their triggers. So I think like I said, it goes back to knowing your partner. Like you said, in the hierarchy, in some things, like I watch Nikki and Joe a lot, and when it comes to some things, Joe might say, this is what we're doing, and then Nikki, when it comes to certain things, this is what we're doing. So I think it's knowing your family, knowing what it is for you that will be most beneficial.
Okay. Now, but I do want to hear Richard Root's thoughts on this, because he told me he was cooking before we got started. But the last question I have for you is this. So what I hear oftentimes is our women nowadays, they'll talk about concerns about men being able to lead. And so we discussed the hierarchy, but in this situation where both people are kind of equal and we're kind of deciding as we go, one thing, how do we solve for if you decide, you know what, hey, you the man, I'm gonna follow you, and you go left? How do we solve for you resenting the fact if you feel like if you went the wrong way? How do we solve for that? Because to me, that's the real problem with this let's do it together, because you're still going to be sitting back thinking, if you would have just listened to me, now, you see what I'm saying?
No,
so
I definitely.
How do we cross that bridge?
That's something that I think we are all still figuring out. Even when I came in, I told Mr. Bobby, which I hope he hop on the show soon, and he kind of read me down on our generation of us having that masculine and feminine energy. How do we get there? I think that's a conversation that we are still building and we're still trying to figure out, because I think, there's also places of, how do we come to the drawing board and weigh each options? How do we figure out what works best for each person and for the family union, and be like, hey, this is the decision we go with? Because it is kind of difficult, because we do hear that a lot. Like even Mr. Bobby said, this generation of men is a little bit weaker. So when it comes to leading in certain directions, you have a group of women that have been like, I'm gonna go figure out and do it on my own. So that is a conversation that I feel like, consistency of leadership, so that women start feeling safe enough to be able to follow in these roles, or, step back and be like, hey, even if it goes left, you'll see, that it went left, and we can have a plan for either or. I think, it's having conversations that, we're not always going to make the right decisions, that's just going to be full of life. So I think it all starts with effective communication and figuring out what that looks like for Black families in general.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and hop in there, Richard Roots.
He said I was cooking. Yeah, so to answer your question, I do think that leadership does have to be established within a relationship, because there are some forks in the road that you will find yourself in a relationship. And if you don't establish that leadership within your relationship, you're going to find yourself in that same argument over and over and over again, because it's like, if that's not a person to say, you know what, this is this, I'm going to take the blame for it if it goes wrong, then what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself fighting to the point where you just give up on the topic. And then it comes back around full circle again. And that's when, some level of maturity should prompt you to say, you know what? We need to establish who wants to take the blame, who wants to take the fall.
And the accountability.
Who wants to take accountability, for when things falls. So in most cases, I would say, I think the man is more fit to do that, because of the man not being emotional. And in today's society, it's more normal for the man to take accountability than for the woman. And I would say, this is why I say that. If I call my friends and I complain about something that's going on in my house, my friends are they're gonna zoom in on me. That's just how men tend to take care of it. Now, immature men, I would say that's different. I see your face. You're like, well, some
I'm working
men,
on my face, Joe.
Men,
okay?
no, it's valid though. It was valid. So you speaking to me without saying anything.
Women too.
So Mature men, the first time, the second you open your mouth, I know I need to come closer to the mic. The second you open your mouth, that man is gonna say, "What are you doing?" He's gonna talk about what you're doing, and even the fact that we talked about on the show a few days ago. That's why men don't even complain to their friends about their woman.
That's why.
Because it's just gonna be like, if a man is complaining to his friends all the time, then first of all, the man gonna look at him as if he's emotional, sensitive, feminine. I'm just calling it for what it is. It's not my words. This is what we're gonna see in our community. So it's not welcome. It's not welcome. But if I bring it to my friends, what they're gonna do is they're gonna say, "What is it that you doing wrong?" Even like when we had these men, the day we had the men in here, man, the men were like, if anything goes wrong, it's your fault. And not a man disagreed. If the woman is just like treating you like trash, that's your fault.
It's reciprocated energy.
That's your fault. And not a man disagreed with that. And you know what? When he said that, I don't know if it was between Parma, Travis, or Marquise Dennis, but when it was said, I was like, you know what? I got to do some self-reflecting. But in most cases, I think men handle that better. That's a bigger community for accountability for men than it is for women. Mm-hmm. So when you take that same situation, you bring it to women. Notice how when a woman brings her issues to her community, whether it's her mother, her sister, her friend, no matter what she says, those women are going to be like, "Oh, he is trash. Oh, that's so bad." Or maybe they won't say he's trash. They're going to sympathize and empathize for him. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a case where there are wise women, and I praise God for them. There is a case where there's wise women who have been through the struggle, who have fought in their marriages, and they would say, "What have you done wrong? Mm-hmm. Have you considered that maybe the way you spoke to him is the reason why he reacted the way he reacted?" Mm-hmm. But in the younger generation, you really don't see that. But you can find that in the younger men more than with the younger woman. And that's just in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If anybody agree, let me know. But if that is the case, then that would mean that the man is more fit to lead, in my opinion. Just like me and Prime had a discussion before. And to show you how unbiased I am, I say I believe that younger women mature faster than men. Mm-hmm. And I said, take for an example, if I had to leave my house in charge out of all my kids, it would be my daughter. Mm-hmm. And I said, when you go to school, when you're in school, if the teacher ever left out, who she left in charge?
The young woman.
She left the young woman. Mm-hmm. Why? In my opinion, it was because women mature faster than men. So this is how I reason with life.
No, I feel you. I think I do agree with your point when it comes to like emotion and women being able to take accountability. I am a young woman that grew up hyper independent. I am more masculine, so I lost a lot of my friends because I was so honest and blunt, and I had a lot of male friends. So I can definitely agree with that point. We do have a little bit more feminine men in this generation now, so I think it's changing just a little bit. But yeah, I seen you look like you had something to say.
All right. So I wanted to start with first. To me, leaders are made. They're not born.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
And so the problem with that idea is you can't judge a leader by his success or his failures. You have to, because basically what the leader is doing is he's the person who can rally people to his cause. And he's willing to take responsibility if things go wrong. Mm-hmm. That's really what the leader does. They're the ones who are going to take responsibility for what happens. So if you're judging that based off of him always making the right decision, it's not just not leadership. You're not being a follower. Mm-hmm. And so what I think we struggle with, and the reason why marriage is kind of a problem, is because we are on this notion that everybody's a leader. We don't have any followers. If you don't have any followers, you can't have a leader, and vice versa. And so I really think that one of the things we have to iron out with marriage for the first part is that I think the leader is typically, in my mind, is going to be the man only because he has the best network to hold him accountable. Mm-hmm. Whereas I believe women as a whole do not hold themselves accountable. They are more likely to acquiesce or accept or excuse, because in the same way men see men in all other men, mm-hmm. women kind of see themselves in all other women. So if you chastise one woman for doing something, it almost seems like you're opening up the door for that chastising to come back at you. So to that degree, I can understand it, mm-hmm. but that doesn't make you a really good leader, because the moment things start to go bad, who are you offloading the responsibility to?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think that if we just look at it as two leaders, or just the woman as followers, I think the man is responsible for the ultimate success of that relationship. So how far you grow, how far you build is going to be responsible on his vision and how well he can lead you. Mm-hmm. But I believe for marriages to become effective is our women need to understand that it's their responsibility to make sure that relationships keeps going. If the relationships fails, it is on the woman.
Okay.
And the reason I would say that is because the woman carries the burden of the negatives to not being in that relationship. They used to have this old phrase that the reason you weren't supposed to mingle with men you didn't get married with is because they said they took years of your youth. If you were to copulate with a man before you got married, they said you were cheating on your husband, because you gave something that was for him to another man. Mm-hmm. And so the consequences of failing a relationship from the woman's standpoint is greater than on the man. As we talk, they talk about men being players, we can just go find another woman. Mm-hmm. Women, you are a lot more selective in nature. You have to be. Mm-hmm. So when you find a man that you love, admire, and respect, it's important that you keep that relationship going, mm-hmm. because you're not going to find a lot of them. On average, women find about 80% of men unattractive. Mm-hmm. So, and then of the 20% you find, we got a lot of feminine ones running around. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of homosexual ones running around. Mm-hmm. And then we got the ones who are just fronting too. So mm-hmm. once you found a man of character, you can't put all the responsibility on him, mm-hmm. or just, hope God saves your relationship. You have to take that vested interest, mm-hmm. because at the end of the day, if it breaks down, you are going to have the harder road mm-hmm. than the man.
Yeah, so I have a question. Why do you think, and you know what, my mind is everywhere. So with all of the information said just now,
I told you I had heat.
I'm gonna drop it. You know what?
Well, go ahead.
My question.
Go ahead.
Why do you think so many? No, go ahead, because I'm gonna pull up statistics before I ask the question. So go ahead.
So I think there's like a lot for us, because all right, should a man lead or whatever? Yeah, but I think in this time frame that we're in, women haven't seen men lead. Especially our men. So it's for them, I think it's harder to even accept or even think of how that, goes in the household. So I think,
I agree.
I think sometimes, it's like, yeah, I should let him, lead. I don't think any woman who really loves a man and trusts in him has a desire to like not to go against him. But at the same time, I think it's like a fear and a trauma that it's like, no, I got to do this because you might fail, or, it's just kind of like that, how they've been programmed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like you've been programmed a certain way all your life, so that's how you see it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, mm-hmm. I don't know if I can, which is why you see so many times I see people, they say like, nah, I can't. One bank account, no. Like, my money is my money, his money is our money. You hear that often. And the thing is, most men don't even feel any way against that. Like, I think most men will probably be like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm going to hold up the house, Mm-hmm. And I do agree. Most men can take that accountability. They can take that pressure. as in if it was me and stuff, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like, fall on my face, like, but like he can hold that pressure just a little bit better than which I can. So it's just like, I feel like our women, we have so much to grow, which is why I think a lot of people experience a lot of trauma with their mothers in the black home, because the mother was holding up everything, and she's also emotional.
Yes.
So when things were going wrong, she was emotional.
Like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I think men can, but it's also very hard for us to say rest in our femininity when we've been so masculine. Like, if we can talk about what epigenetics, how things are passed down through our DNA. We got some real masculine women coming out at birth, So it's like we coming out ready, suited up, like we about to handle it.
We ready to handle it.
So it's like we have to. It's gonna take some time to get our women to say, hey, Also, it takes our men to step up, be great, be well. Which I feel like our men are on that path. Like, I see so many men on that path now. So it's like, I feel like we're heading in the right direction.
I do too, because I feel like listening to what you said, I feel like I hear a lot of what has been kind of bred in us generationally of, like you said, it's your responsibility to uphold this relationship. And it's like, that's a lot of pressure to have on you when it's like, they say the woman was given, to be able to, help nurture that relationship, strengthen the relationship with God, to be able to pray for you. And it's like, if it fails, of course you get the grunt of it, because you might have to take the kids and, deal with all this. It's easier for him to go on and get married. So for you to know, you might not find someone that is as, that's going to be able to come along. So you settle for what you have. It might not necessarily be what is godly and like what you would desire to show up, but sometimes even hearing that pressure of like, this is your responsibility, when it's like, isn't this a equal thing? Of course, leadership start, like you said, we have not been shown that, you know what I'm saying? And even the women that I know that have gotten married and the leadership still hasn't shown up, that's also disappointing too. So it's like, how do you change those genes or have it to where you feel comfortable, you feel safe enough to be soft?
I feel you, but I also want to point out something. So you're talking about the pressure of the weight of the relation of maintaining the relationship. But think about that. You're talking about the pressure of keeping a relationship going with the person you love, but the person you picked. Like, no one else picked him, no one else chose him. You chose him. So you're struggling with the pressure of staying with the guy you picked, and yet you still want to be able to lead the relationship? Who's going to be responsible for the kids, the house?
Not necessarily asking for that leadership, but I say you are fighting for that. But I think for me, one thing that I have seen, because I talk to a lot of single women, I talk to a lot of married women, the men are not showing up emotionally and spiritually. You can provide all day long. You can lead in a way financially all day long. But when I talk to young men out here and they're like, oh, my daddy paid the bills, everything was taken care of, but he didn't teach me nothing. So yes, I see a lot of women that have been like, people swear up and down, black women leave men like it's nothing. But 9 times out of 10, they spent a lot of their good years, a lot of their great energy fighting for people who didn't have the emotional capacity, that didn't have love from their mother nor their father to be even to show up for them. Because women are out here going to prayer groups. Even though some women aren't holding accountable, women are paying $300 out here to go to conferences. When I go to effective communication classes, it's women that's in them. So yeah, it's your responsibility to fight for it, but you also got to have somebody that's in the ring with you and fighting for it too.
Yeah.
I think that's really good what you just said there, because when you think about it, a lot of women they do say that, like, he's a great provider, but he doesn't provide for me emotionally. Like, so emotionally I'm left on I
am emotionally starving.
Yeah, so I hear that often, and it's like that is an aspect that I think a man should be willing to step in, because when you're dealing with a woman, you're dealing with someone who has these emotions, and we need you to come and just like smooth it out, make it better, for us just because we need to vent. Allow us to vent.
Yeah.
Allow us to vent because sometimes that's all we need to do. I'm not looking for a solution, but I know my husband gonna say, well, we come with solutions, right? But it's like, but sometimes we just need to let it go. And yes, we have friends, but sometimes we feel like our husbands are our safe space. And like, I can just go to you and I know I'm going to be good, So I think that emotional aspect is definitely lacking.
I agree. I remember in our relationship, I was like, man, this woman is emotional. And I thought to myself, maybe it was God speaking to me, because I remember I was like, you know what? You asked for a feminine woman. You specifically said you wanted a feminine woman. And this comes with the territory. So if a man wants a feminine woman, then he has to understand that he needs to be there for her emotionally, because that comes with a lot of estrogen is going to bring in a lot of emotions. So a lot of estrogen is a really feminine woman.
That is true. Now, look, since you said that, I want to read Travis's response. He said, the biggest thing in marriage I feel couples need and should do is being naked with one another. God created Adam and Eve naked. They told one another everything and had open dialogue, along with zero judgment or competition. In today's marriages, I feel in the most part is a competition against one another. You need one flesh, zero judgment. So I just wanted to say that in regards to what you just said, because what we were just talking about, the emotional aspect, like we need that, like, don't judge me on how I'm feeling right now. Because you know what, Beyonce had a song, I'm a mess in the morning, I'm a be in the afternoon. Like, something like, it was something like that. Flaws and all, I think that's the name of the song.
Y'all gonna get mad at me, but that's okay.
Uh-oh.
I'm
You about to come with the heat.
Emotionally unintelligent person at the table.
Okay.
And so I don't really
Great acknowledgement and accountability.
I don't really fully understand exactly what we're talking about. Now, I will say that we do have a generation of men who don't really understand women, but that's because they were taught about women from women.
Okay.
And women are usually less honest when they're talking about themselves. That said,
I'm so
Bobby
glad.
came in
Come
here.
on, Bobby.
But
the spirit in the room.
Okay.
So this is
Headphones.
this emotional I need to vent conversation. It really sounds like, hey, if you become my man, if I decide I'm gonna spend my time with you, you need to be prepared to be my emotional dumpster.
Oh no, that's not what it is.
Because it doesn't sound like this man is allowed to have boundaries. It don't sound like this man is allowed not to want to deal with your attitude. Because it sounds like he's supposed to accept you however you come. To make you feel safe, to make you feel nurtured. Where is your personal responsibility?
Okay.
You know, at what point do you sit back and say, you know what? My man really don't need me to come at him on 10. I need to vent. But maybe I need to calm down a little bit, bring it down to a 6, and then I'll be able to have that conversation with him.
Okay.
I'm happy you cleared that up, because when I was talking about the emotional woman, I wasn't considering that. But I'm gonna let you cook.
I got you, because that's what emotional intelligence is. And before, I'm in grief therapy, and the way she helped me understand this was, this ain't the way she explained it, but this is the way my mind processed it, and this is the way most people have been able to receive it. So your brain is like a booty, and in that little crack, you got some hairs. And for those little hairs, for women, we got a whole bunch of them. We can go, it's your neurons. We can go from one side over here. I'm irritated. This is why I'm irritated, and this is what I need for you to do to fix it. Men, they go straight like this. You got less of them, so you can't necessarily process all of that. So I think after learning that from her, she explained that gay men have just a little bit more of those hairs. So that's why women tend to have gay friends, because they understand them on a masculine level and a female level. And in order for you to get that middle, you have to start practicing and working to build more neurons to where you can be emotionally intelligent. If you can't communicate to me, hey, babe, I got a lot of things on my plate today. This is not where I'm in a place at. But I do see more conversations about emotional intelligence happening, because no, your partner isn't for you to just be able to dump all of your problems and all of your traumas. But if you are not working on your traumas actively and healing yourself, then everything is going to keep showing up in your relationship. That's emotional intelligence. It's not using your partner as a emotional throw up bag at all. That's not what it is. Emotional intelligence is being able to say, hey, I'm stressed right now. I don't have the capacity to hear some of the things that you are going through at work, but it's showing up as I'm irritated. I ain't like, most men have 4 emotions, so it's like, how do we look
that's
at,
a little sexist.
well, that's just coming from what I'm experiencing.
Go ahead,
That's what I'm on the show for, to speak on my experience. But also, as a Black community, we haven't been shown how to look at an emotions wheel and describe all of the different things that come with it. So that's just where I feel, it comes in. But me and Mr. Bobby was talking about this out in the lobby, so I'm glad he hopped in here to give his opinion.
Mr. Bobby snuck into the panel.
Oh, boy. Y'all drug me in here, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a special request.
Okay.
Uncle Bobby.
No, we're talking about relationships, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
You want me to refresh?
yeah, refresh me. Give me updated.
So we talking about specifically Black marriages. Is it still a thing, or is it outdated?
Well, as an elder and talking, I don't think that people want to get married no more. I think because of platforms like social media, for one. I'm pretty sure you guys hit on that a little bit, earlier. Social media has a lot to do with it. And the role reversals of men and women have changed. You got women acting like men and men acting like women, and it's just man, woman, and child. It's not in that order anymore, because people prioritize different things today. I see a lot of females want to go back to school, get education, get their degrees, and put that first before they put together a family. And the same men that they complain about are the men that they're raising in the household. Those are the same men they're fussing about and complaining again. And those men, I'm primarily talking about Black men. Black men today and younger generations don't want to do labor. They don't want to be electricians, plumbers, roofers, put on those steel-toe boots and get out here and do what they need to do. So society have found them some new Black men. That's called Hispanics. So the Hispanics are doing all that work that we used to do coming up. And the households don't know how to love. See, they don't know how to love no more. Just don't know how. You don't see grandma and grandpa and all of that no more like that. Families don't eat together anymore. Yep. They don't talk together anymore. And technology is the influence in the relationship. And chivalry is almost dead. It's almost dead when it comes to that. So when you have people that are engulfed in that type of mindset and mentality, it's not good for the masses.
Right.
Of us. As we're like 13% of the United States of America, and we got 68% of these prisons that are incarcerated Black men, and the divorce rate is 80% because the Black female, she's the one that's filing for it, and the Black man is just sitting back. And I was talking to you earlier, don't you remember? When you get into a situation, fellas, and you always a yes, darling, yes, that's not a healthy situation for a Black man to be in. Because when she asks you, baby, what you want to eat? Well, whatever you want to cook. Baby, let's go to the movies. Okay, what you want to see? Well, whatever you want to go see. You know what I mean? When that, rather, that's a beta type male.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's a beta. Yes, ma'am. That's it. That's a beta type male. But if you got an alpha male, she'll say, baby, what you want to eat? Hey, I want some mashed potatoes, some green beans, and some, blah, 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 meatloaf. Well, what you want to go see? Hey, this new Denzel movie just came out. I want to go check that out. Let's go check that. He'll be more dominant. And women, real women, they like that leadership. Yeah. They want to see you lead them and provide for them. Because when you're acting in your masculinity as a man, and she's acting in her femininity as a woman, you can stay together like the Black Love Club.
Uncle Bobby, it's hard to find that man in today's time. And
yeah,
I'm
going
to tell you, the reason is because we were raised by single mothers. And it's funny because I have a personal story. So I was raised by a single mother. And what do you want to eat was never a question. Because she was working 2 jobs. She was just going to make the quickest, fastest things possible. So for a man who was raised in my same situation, it could be easy for him to say, whatever you want to cook. That's not me, though. I took the contrary. I took the different road. I took the different road. Thank you. I remember one day my wife bought me some shoes. She'll tell you. She bought me some shoes, and I was like, I don't like these shoes. And she was like, but these are some really nice shoes. And I was like, but I don't like these shoes. And she was like, but these are some really nice shoes. And I said, thank you, baby. I really appreciate you.
But I don't like them, Mom.
It's been some things that you bought me that I will wear. But these, I would not wear these. And she would not let loose. She was just like, these are some really nice shoes. And I told her, I said, baby, all my life, I had to be told what I was going to wear. And now I feel like I work hard so that I can be able to have what I want. So I say, baby, I don't want these shoes. And she understood. She returned those shoes. Returned them. I never heard another word from it. But I say that to say some men may not take that same route. Because they've always been taught, just like Ebony mentioned earlier, like women, Ebony and my wife actually mentioned that our women have been raised to be leaders. And she even mentioned epigenetics, like they're coming out the womb, ready to lead. So because they've never had a male in the house telling them this is what you need to do. So when a man tells them to do it, now it's like this is foreign and they don't know how to handle it.
And I learned through a little research is that, because I know y'all were saying that single dads, pretty much, have better kids. Not, in a small little sentence, but women, single moms, when they introduce a male into their home, it increases the kids' chances of being incarcerated.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't have that, and then when we try to find that help or find somebody to come in, it increases our child's chances of going to prison. So it's like, sometimes I feel like for me, I'm just asking to hear more solutions because I do feel like I hear a lot of statistics. I hear a lot of black women not doing this, black women not doing that. And that hurts to keep hearing. And no one is telling you how to fix the situation, how to be better. One thing that I do feel like Kevin Samuels did, say is like, if you want to be a wife, go and ask other women what it's like to be a wife, what that looks like. And I heard a lot of sad wives that settled, a lot of wives that wish they did things differently. So I do feel like, what do those conversations look like? How do we build up better men that are going to lead? Because a lot of the women that I talk to,
it takes a lot to be a man. It takes a lot to be what I call a real man. To be a man, you hear what I'm saying? Not a boy, but be a man. And to be a real man, you got to have those attributes and all that in you to know how to lead, how to provide, how to take care of your woman. See, one thing I know about a woman, if you wrap your arms around her and protect her and you there for her, she's going to give you everything she got, you know? Then you're going to see that femininity. It's going to show up. But when she's solo and by herself, then she has to take on those masculine roles.
Yeah.
You know, she just got to. She don't even have a choice. She got 2 or 3 kids, and you know, she's in the crib, and you know, she got to set it up. I had a mother come over here to the radio station one day. I didn't know her from a can of paint, and she had 2 boys, 7 and 9 years old. And she said, "Mr. Eaton, they told me to come see you." I said, "Yes, how can I help you?" She says, "I got these 2 boys, my 2 boys here, 7 and 9 years old, but I can't get them to do nothing around the house. They won't make up their beds. They won't empty the trash. I got a lawnmower in the garage. They won't even cut the grass. They won't do nothing. All they want to do is be on that PlayStation." I took the PlayStation away, you know, and put it in, and it made it worse in my house. So I looked at the 2 little boys. I was in there on the sofa, and I looked at them, and I said, "Hey, you guys play PlayStation, right?" "Yeah, I'm better than him." "No, you ain't. I'm better than him." I said, "How would you all, do you all play football on the PlayStation?" This is what I said. And they said, "Yeah, I'm better than him. I can throw better than him. I can tackle better than him." I said, "Y'all do PlayStation, huh?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Do y'all really want to play football?" They said, "What you talking about?" I say, "Really play football. Put on a helmet, some shoulder pads, and all of this kind of stuff." That's what I said to them. They say, "Yeah, I want to be the quarterback." You know what I mean? And I said, "Mom, will you let them play football?" She said, "Yeah." So I picked up my phone and I called the coach. "Hey, man, hold on, let me let you talk to this lady." He talked to her. And she said they was talking, blah, 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 blah. Made arrangements for them 2 boys to go join his football team. And the reason I did that is I knew that the coaches were going to be disciplined. They're going to be hard on them. They're going to run them to death. They're going to have to do push-ups and everything up under the sun. And they're going to have to compete for positions. They're going to have to learn how to do that. And when they get home, they're going to be too tired to get on the PlayStations. And whatever their mama tells them to do, they're going to do it because she can say, "Well, you ain't going to play no more football." So there's certain things that we can do in our community to bring certain things back, because we have to raise up the guys. It's the men that we got to put it into so they can become men. I mean, I know men that can't even change a flat tire. Never changed one before. You know?
Mr. Bobby, and I'm in these hospital rooms with these mamas having babies, and they ain't there by themselves.
Yeah,
So
I know.
it's like I'm hearing y'all give me these statistics and everything, but nobody understands what it's like. They are not having sex by themselves.
Right.
So they are literally in these hospital rooms by themselves.
I'm going to help you with something there. They got to stop and close their legs and not let any man in. See, when you stop, only way you can get pregnant is you let a man impregnate you.
You right.
And some women are twerking and doing all this crazy wild stuff and showing their body parts and booty shorts and all this kind of stuff. And they're getting impregnated by these no good men.
Because we haven't been taught what I put this
By
in the
these
chat
no
last
good
week.
men.
Yeah,
By
we
no
haven't
good
been
men.
taught.
So you ain't been taught. So now you're pregnant. You're in the hospital. You're getting ready to have this baby.
Another baby that don't
You know, by Pookie and Ray Ray. You know, and now they're not there. As a matter of fact, they're going to deny that that's even their child.
You know what? I think so. I heard someone else say this, and I wouldn't disagree. In every generation, there have always been good men, but the men who heavily populated were the bad men. And look at it this way: when you look at those women, someone else said this too, and I agree. More women are baby mamas than there are baby daddies.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is these women are picking the same no good men.
Same no good men.
While
Facts, I
the
do.
good men are walking around single. They just don't fit the image that the women want.
'Cause that's what been pushed
So-
to
That's
us.
what it is,
Yeah.
right?
Back to what we said earlier. It's easy for the man to take accountability.
Mm-hmm.
A man can't complain about his crazy baby mama too long. Because men going to eventually get tired of it. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear from women. Why would we want to hear from my brother? If he calling me all the time, and I dang prime, but if he calling me all the time, telling me about a bad decision that he made with a woman, eventually we going to slowly stop seeing each other. We going to slowly stop talking because that's just how men. Am I right? On the
Yeah,
Bible?
y'all take
You're right.
account. Yeah.
You're right. You know, you got to be accountable for your actions. You know what I mean? You just can't blame the other sex or sex blame this sex. You got to be hell accountable for what you do. Me and you had a conversation one time. You married a woman who had children. I married a woman who had children. And it's hard being a stepfather.
It is.
Just stepping in those positions and stepping in those shoes
Why they
because
step on you.
it'll step right on you. You know, you don't have discipline rights or anything like that. You know, there's only certain things you can say. You got to talk to your wife or whoever you're dealing with. Hey, you need to talk to her. You need to talk to your kids. You know, you need to go. It's just so hard and difficult to be that way.
Right.
But if women would hone into their femininity and stop sleeping with these no good men. And I'm say it again, these no good men. You know, because the square guys, they don't get no shot.
Right.
That's
You
why I
know?
think it's up to the women too. Like, you know,
it's-
lead the generation. Like you said, take accountability. If we don't know what the red flags are, what a toxic relationship is, like I said, I've taken accountability. I am a young woman. I grew up with no father, so I ended up in an abusive relationship in 11th grade, 12th grade, because I didn't know what was toxic, and I just kept going back. So I'm like, oh, that's the only person that'll love me. You know, when you get in contact with these no good men. So you do have to get around other people that will pour into you other things and hold the older women in the community accountable for creating spaces to teach young women, like at Girls Talk at Tulsa Met, their middle and high school. How are we teaching young women to recognize red flags, what's controlling, what's abusive, and just what's not for you, and how to love yourself first? I don't think no one talks about that. Like, what does loving yourself first look like before you can love someone else? Because we all are looking for just that love. It's what we've been pushed. You
Well,
know?
it's chivalry, back to chivalry again. Hey, opening doors, bringing flowers, doing things, learning how to love.
No,
You know,
facts.
we don't know. I don't think these younger generations even know anything about love. You know?
Attention is love to
You know,
us.
yeah, attention. You can't even talk to certain people about love, but you can talk to them and come hard, and they'll like that hard talk.
Right.
Yes.
You know, that hard conversation. But if you a soft-spoken ma'am, how you doing today, lady? You sure look nice. Oh, that's corn.
They take it as weakness.
That's weakness. You know, that's a weak man.
I've
you know?
learned that that's what black people seem to like. Even when I've walked into like my healing space and not speaking as aggressively, black men be like, I don't like when you talk sweet like that. I don't like when you talk nice like that. Like where, you know,
stay
you
away
can
from
you
that.
can reprimand me
You gotta
and
be
talk to
hard,
me.
huh?
Yeah, you gotta be hard. Like I've watched my mama dog, like, you know, cuss men out and they still come back like, ooh, okay. I like when she talk. That has become a black culture thing of this is how we
That's
so
the
to
norm,
us
huh?
it's the norm. So it's like you do find women with no good men. It's like, girl, shut the hell up and come, you know, go make me something to eat. It's like, oh, he loved me. We've been taught fighting for love and crazy love. All of our movies, everything has pushed toxicity. And now that we have a broken culture, it's like, well, what happened?
Well, I think part of that is we're again talking about these generation of men who were raised by women. And so typically when they're trying to establish dominance in the home, they tend to be aggressive, typically verbal, and, you know, at times physical. So what ends up happening is that we as men grow up and we're taught that this person loves us unconditionally. Like the word for God for a child is mother. So we grow up and we seek that person in our relationships. So that's why the man will be like, man, I like the way you talk to me. I mean, I experienced it. I had a woman and nowadays I look back and it was so foolish. But one of the reasons I got with her is I was like, man, nobody I've ever encountered, no man I know would dare talk to me the way that she does. And thinking about it from now, that is such a ridiculous reason to be interested in a woman
like that. Huh?
But I didn't realize that was what I was seeking after, because I had that experience with my mother.
Right.
And so as I've grown past it, it's like, that's why I say you around the wrong men. The developed, mature men, they want you to be soft. We don't want all of that loud stuff. With that said, I want to get back to the subject of marriage, because we're talking about solutions, and I got a solution. I don't know that y'all going to like it. I don't know that you'll even agree with it, but it is a solution. I think right now we're in a situation where our black community is a matriarchy. And I believe we have done this long enough to realize this is not a sustainable system.
Okay.
The only way I've seen that we can fix this without a harsh correction from the men is our black women, y'all gonna have to willingly give up y'all power. Y'all gonna have to do the ultimate form of submission. Because I thought about this for a week, and then you were busy, so I had another week to think about it. And I thought to myself, marriage isn't outdated. I just think we're missing something that we used to have.
Yeah.
Previously, marriage came with a sense of ownership. There was a dowry in place. You were handed over from the father. You took his last name. Part of the reason that women initially didn't have checking accounts or credit cards is because you couldn't amass debt. So you were still doing most of the spending. You just couldn't amass the debt because the man was responsible for that. And so it tethered you to him, and it reinforced that responsibility to keep the marriage and relationship going. Because as you mentioned, right now you got all the power. And right now our women are leaving relationships at like 70 to 80%, even more if they college educated. So I think the only way we're going to be able to make this marriage thing work is if we move back to a more of a ownership kind of a system. You're going to have, and no amount of coaching, no amount of advice is going to fix you picking the wrong guy. You have to be able to establish a man who is worth your admiration. He's got to be worth your respect, and you have to love him. Like there's no way around that. So one way is check how he's viewed in the community. You know, what do his peers look like? How do they speak about him? What is his vision? What is he talking about? You know, how consistent is he with his actions? How much is he going to acquiesce to you? Because that's really what you want to know. Because there was an old saying, they said,
you got to vet him.
You got to vet him.
You just got to vet him. Here's the thing. Men are the natural weakness to women, as women are the natural weakness to men. So it's really hard for women to vet men because we're your weakness in most cases. So it's going to be difficult, but that's why we're going to have to work together as a community. You got to find some men around you who can help you sort through the riffraff, because we can look in his eyes and be like, he full of it. We can tell by the way he walks. But it's also hard for women because there's more women than it is men.
Right.
And having platonic relationships.
You know, anytime you can go out on any given Friday or Saturday night to a restaurant and you'll see a table full of women just sitting around drinking margaritas and eating food because there are no men hardly around. The trust is not there anymore. In the 60s and the 70s, we were more close-knit back in those days.
Right.
Women, I remember, man, when I was coming up, I used to knock on Denise's door, and I used to go in there, and her daddy make me sit on the sofa.
Uncle Bobby, let me just add this.
Yeah.
I'm going to insert this.
Yes.
In the 60s and the 70s, I was supposed to read the statistics. That's when our marriages were at their prime.
They were at their prime.
From then to the 80s, 90s to 2000s.
It started decreasing.
My grandma
All the way-
said my
Oh,
great
for sure.
grandfather used to invite. My grandmother had five girls, one boy, and all of their partners used to have to come over to the house, and they would have to dance and just have like a Sunday dinner so they could see each other and, like you said, vet their partners.
Yeah, well, families had good examples, back in those days. The king and the queens were the grandparents, and like on Sundays, you go over to their houses or something. My grandmother would put out a call for me if she hadn't seen me in a week or two. Where is he at? And they come at me, you better go over to grandma. She been asking about you. And whatever you were doing, you stop and say, oh man, you had that feeling. Oh, I gotta go. And you go on over there. Oh, hey baby, where you been? Oh, I've been so and so and so and so. That's the way it was back in those days. But like you said, Joe, you said back in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Those statistics are real.
Yeah.
People were getting married. They were staying together. There was love in the air.
Right.
Now it wasn't perfect. It was some
never gonna be
toxic. It
perfect.
was some toxic relationships.
Right.
But those toxic relationships, the community would put them fires out themselves without even having to call the police.
Right. Yeah.
When they found out that Johnny was beating up his wife over here, hey man, we got to go over there and get him straight. Then they go get him straight.
Right.
So
to give my input to Ebony, what's the solutions? I'm happy you posed that question because every episode we bring up some hot topics, and I think we shouldn't leave without bringing a solution. But what we're doing here, having this conversation, is one of those solutions. One of my friends, he called me up. He's one of my white friends. Called me up. He was like, "Hey, why is it that all of these podcasts and are all like all these relationship podcasts are all black people?" And I said, because there's so many issues
in the
within
black
our
community.
marriage, So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. I don't care how many relationship podcasts, radio shows we have. We need to have more, because the more we have, the more conversations are going. We need some mentorship programs. We need some people to actually take responsibility. We need mothers to actually understand the importance of having a father in the house. So what that entails is, like what Uncle Bobby was saying earlier in Aga Prime, if the man is not fit to raise a kid, don't lay with him at all. Sex is not supposed to be for fun.
It's not.
So when a woman finds herself in the hospital giving birth to a child, that's her fault. But I'm not gonna look at the situation and not have empathy, because I understand what you said is true. It's the same reason why we have a lot of broken men, because we had bad parenting. But our solution is to start with this generation, start with the younger kids.
See, just
and
like
start
what you're
building them
saying,
up.
I can't get it if you don't give it to me. If you don't give it to me, I can't get it.
Facts.
And that's just the way it go. And that's just some reality right there. With women being very emotional, and we are logical, and we are sexual. Men are sexual. What's the first thing we do when we see a bad woman walking down the street and the guys is together? We say, "Ooh-wee, look at that. Oh man, she bad, ain't she?" That's the first thing we see. We don't say, "Well, I wonder what's in her mind, what's on her brain,
What's her personality?
Yeah, right. What's her personality like?
What's her sign?
Because we are physical. We are physical beings. We will sleep with a doorknob, you know what I mean, as men. So women have to understand that, just when you go out to have fun at the club and things like that, and you sitting around partying, don't think, well, hey, who am I going to go home with tonight? Don't think like that. And some women think that they want to, you're physical and you're human just like we are. But you got to have some type of concept of not sleeping with any man. Vet him first. Make him work for anything. He's got to work. He's got to do some work for it. And guys, stop going out just sleeping with women just to be sleeping with them.
Yeah.
Stop that. And then the pregnancy rate won't be there because, see, integration didn't do us good. It separated us and blew us up anyway.
It did.
It destroyed us. You know, it took us out of our community and it just spaced us out. Now you got black men sleeping with white girls and different races and stuff like that, and black women are sitting back alone because black women won't date no white man or no Mexican man or no other. They want a brother. They basically
some of them are dating them.
Yeah.
I mean, they tired of waiting.
Yeah,
but just like
know.
I had a white woman
Right.
jump in the comments to me the other day
Yeah.
when I shared something, and she was like,
Yeah.
black women aren't the only ones that aren't single moms and are dealing with some of this stuff. And I was like, you're right. I appreciate you bringing it for my attention. We are just the only ones that are highlighted. So your white friend even asking that question, it's like, how many other races are we asking? Like, what is what are y'all relationships looking like? Well, because I do experience some white women that do have these beta males, and they are taking on the roles in their things as well. Because I mean, we had certain movements that led to this, but I do think it's something. Black culture is just highlighted a little bit more. So I appreciated that white listener, kind of bringing
telling
that.
you
Yeah,
that,
telling
huh?
me like, y'all not the only ones that are single moms or that's dealing with postpartum depression, and we don't have the support or the village either. My dad wasn't in my life, and I was like, dang, we are just the ones that they highlighted.
Yeah.
So it's like we spend so much time focusing on all of how we broken. It's like, did we even take a chance to look and see other people or other races are just as broken as we are? They just ain't highlighting.
But y'all better start getting it right, because you got a lot of brothers that are leaving the country. They call them passport bros.
Yeah.
And they packing up and they leaving and going to Dominican Republic
exactly.
and all of these Japan and stuff and Philippines, looking for wives and things of that nature, and it's breaking down the family.
Yeah, they don't want exotic. They giving up on the black woman.
They're giving up on the black woman.
That's really what it is.
That's what it is. They're giving up.
Or they go to white women that dress and look just like us. So I think that's the weird thing, is we've been ridiculed for how we are, and then everybody is trying to be us, and then we're wrong for how we are.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
It make sense to me.
Well, I would say, and this is also kind of the stereotype and just the perception of it is that, as you mentioned, in our culture, our women have been kind of taught to lead, and they've been empowered to be strong, to be boisterous, to speak their mind.
In this generation.
And I think what ends up happening as a consequence to that is that it really makes it really difficult to dominate you. We feel like we really got to fight. And it's hard enough as a man in general. And then we got to turn around and then fight you to help you, to love you.
Because half of us, it's like, if you're not going to show up, I can do it myself.
And then,
That's what you're right.
That's
it.
If you're not going to show up, I can do it myself.
Yeah, you take that thought process into your relationship, and so the moment you're not really feeling him no more, it's like, I can just do this by myself. I don't need you.
I'm used to disappointment.
And so once that happens, he's looking for somebody who's gonna be a follower, that he don't gotta dominate.
It's easier
He wants
for white
that
women.
submission.
That's what he's looking for.
He's looking for that submission. And when a lot of African American women hear that word submission, they get real terrified. But submit? What? Submit? I ain't going blah, blah, blah. We 50-50. We on equal basis, and you can't have a good, wholesome relationship just on an equal basis like that.
Because
It
I never
just don't
heard
work.
anyone say we could submit to each other, I guess. Because in healthy marriages, I think I hear that more so, is that it's not just a you submit to me. It's like, there are different moments where, obviously the woman submits majority of the time, but there are some moments where I see that in y'all's beautiful relationship. It's not a Joe walks around like, oh, Nikki submits to me and this is how I am. It is a equal godly submission, and I think that's sometimes.
Well, I think Joe he's the alpha male, and I
is.
think Nikki's
He
gonna
is.
follow his lead.
Indeed.
Now, I believe that probably in their relationship, sometime he may make some mistakes that she submitted and said, "I told you." You know what I mean? I told you we shouldn't have did that. that's a healthy relationship.
It is.
You know, I told you we shouldn't have go in here. We shouldn't have spent that money on this or did that, you know, or with the kids or something like that. I'm pretty sure that happens because it happens in relationships. But he's going to be the man. I already know. I can feel it.
And I see that.
I can
That's what I'm
see it
saying.
when
I
he look
see
at
that.
when he get up and go look at the kids and discipline the kids and like that. You know, I seen him do a little spanking one day. You know what I mean? He was. I said, "Woo wee!"
What was it? That one day he got aggressive, went in there. I was like,
Yeah, he got
it's that
aggressive
time.
and went in there, and I'm just like, so I know who's a leader in their family.
Facts.
You know what I mean? But in some families, you don't know who's leading until you see them or talk with them.
Now, I think Ebony is bringing up something else too that I think we should consider. Men could become burned out. They can get burned out if they believe that me being a leader means that I do everything.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
what I
Yeah.
meant of
Yeah.
equal. Yes.
Right. So like when it comes to schooling, when it comes to food, there's a lot of things that my wife she does. And if this is something that she's doing, I don't ask her any questions. I just because I trust her. I see that's what she's good at. I let her do her. If there's ever a conflict in that area, we discuss it. But as far as like what you were saying, that is me. But I think that is a perspective that we really need to understand too, because a lot of men have never saw a leader before, so they think what a leader looks like is you do everything that I say. And
Right,
I'm
exactly.
responsible
Yes.
for every single thing, and then the man gets burned out because he feels like he has to take care of everything.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I think that's an idea that we fabricated at some point.
What do you think,
'Cause I've
then?
met a lot of men, and most of men that I know, they really only like to deal with intelligent women. They really only like to deal with a woman who can think coherently, who's got her own life together.
Well, that's
So
a different
it's
level.
not-
That's a different level of man.
It
Now,
is.
see, you
Yeah.
got to
What I'm
go.
saying is, I
Now, when
think
you
that's-
go into the hood,
Yeah.
Well,
with that
but
hood,
we're also going
you
to
know, you going into the hood with a lower caliber of mentality,
Right.
then you're dealing with a different mentality. See, there are levels in our levels
you're
in
right.
our culture.
You're right.
You know, there are levels in our culture. So I understand where you're coming from, but
Yeah,
there are levels. You know, you have to deal with. I can't go into the hood and talk real intelligent. I have to get on their level so they can understand what I'm trying to say. I can't use certain buzzwords
Right.
and big words and things because, oh man, they ain't gonna want to hear that. But at the same time, I can't go in the boardroom with a bunch of intelligent blacks and talk like I'm in the hood.
Exactly.
So therefore, you got to know where you're at and where you're going and when to turn it on and when to turn it off.
Yes.
You know, and me personally being a man who've been way up at the top with the millionaires and the celebrities and stuff and been way down at the bottom with the drug addicts and everybody else in the hood, it's taught me a lot of stuff. So now I can have the conversation with almost anybody, you know, because I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle trying to do it. But marriage is so difficult. It's just hard today.
It's hard, and so that's why I brought up the idea of ownership and the women giving up the power. Because here's the thing, you're right. You're right. A lot of these men, they are not ready to lead the relationship. I 100% agree with you.
They're
Here's the
not.
thing, you still got a clock. You can't wait for the next generation to grow up to be leaders. You still ain't gonna have a husband. So what I'm saying is that you are going to have to be the best follower that you can to build this man into the leader you need. He's already going to have to do all the work. But that's the only way, because otherwise...
You said
if
to
we
build a man?
No, not. I'm sorry. I
You
might have
said
used that
to
wrong word.
build a man?
Right.
They've
you're
been
right.
teaching us.
Yeah.
Hold on. Fair enough.
She
Fair
can't
enough.
build no man.
Fair enough.
Right.
What I'm basically saying is that you need followers in order to be a leader. And so you can follow in a way that allows him to lead you.
Okay.
you can teach him to not need your permission.
Okay.
Those are the kind of things. I'm saying that when you can take the secondary role, because you understand that we need each other to get there. Mm-hmm. And I think there was an old saying. It was like, if you follow the man, he'll lead you to happiness. If you follow the woman, she'll lead you to the end of the relationship.
One thing a man loves.
Oh, did I just slip that in there?
Yeah, you did.
You did. One thing a man loves is this, and women don't really. I think today's women don't really understand it. One thing is that he loves is femininity.
That's it.
That word, femininity. The more feminine you are, the better chances of you finding somebody who's going to really start loving you and caring, because he's going to say, boy, that's a sexy woman right there. Oh, man, she's tight. She smells good. Oh, she talks good. She's this and that. And he's just going to be all bubbly. But if she come out hard, yo, what's up, dog? And all of this kind of stuff.
Men ain't attracted to men.
Men ain't attracted to men. You know, so if you a hard woman and start working on your femininity and you surround yourself around men, they're going to recognize that. Mm-hmm. They're going to really recognize that.
I would say this, too, just to add value to what you're saying. When a woman works on her femininity, she's going to attract a masculine man, a man who's yearning to take care of you, to
That's right.
Surround you.
Put his arms around her, surround her, and hug her and make it go.
But when a woman is masculine, it's only fair. It's only fair for that man to assume that you're going to take care of him and he'll be able to fall underneath your wings, because that's what he saw all his life.
That's facts.
So the thing is, like, if you want a real man, try not to look like his mama. And I know that sounds bad.
Man.
That sounds bad.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Talking about me.
Unless
but now you
he
got to
grew
give
up in a 2-parent household.
But you know, there have been some good women, some single parent moms who've raised some good men.
Come on, talk about it, because
That
one of
is
the
true.
best,
It has been some-
one of the
it's
best
been
dads
some-
I got was
yeah,
raised by
yeah.
a single
That is
mom.
true.
And he
It has
hands
been a
That is
few.
on.
It's
So
been a few.
let me specify. Try not to look like his mama if his mama raised him to receive from women. Because, like, for instance,
Right.
one day I had a conversation with this woman, and she said, why is it that she always finds herself in a relationship with a man who just sits around, plays the game, and expect her to pay the bills, always moving in with her? And I said, well, this is the typical young man who's been taken care of
You know
by
what you
his
just
mother.
said? Always moving in with her. Ladies, you got to stop that.
Help and build them up.
You
That's
got
what
to
he just
stop
said, though.
that. You got to stop letting.
Oh, she's been petty.
I mean, I'm saying I'm confused at what we supposed to be doing.
Yeah, don't let no man move in with you. You know, don't let no man. I tell young men all the time, I say, man, don't move in with no woman. I say, don't move in with no woman. Don't move in with her. Go get your own stuff. Have your own car, your own place. And if she got her own stuff, y'all can just visit each other back and forth until marriage, until something happens. But stop playing house.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you said, but I don't think, the building part. Like, I feel like you can encourage a man to do things, right? And you can see how well he takes that encouragement.
I mean, I misspoke.
And
I understand.
I can understand. But it just came out wrong.
But
But
I
you
can
see
take that. I
how
can take
well
that.
he takes that encouragement, and then you determine, like, is this like a good man to lead me? Because I don't feel like women should just go blindly following and submitting to men.
I agree
Like,
completely.
so it's like,
Right.
I feel like the men also have to take up their, get themselves together. They gotta start taking accountability and becoming
We
a
do.
man.
100%.
Because just to go following some man and just say, I'm just gonna go submit. A lot of women that just go submit find themselves in some really bad situations.
Yeah.
Really terrible
I've
situations.
been there.
You know,
That's
get
what we've been
yourself
taught to
together
do.
first.
Yes.
You know, I tell young men all the time, I say, man, look, get yourself together first. Get your stuff. Get your bank account happening. Get your car. You get your driver's license. Get your bank account. Get your place. And then when you feel comfortable, then you can go out and you can look for your queen. You know, you can go out and look for your queen no matter where you may go. You may meet her in the grocery store. You may meet her at the laundromat, anywhere. You know, but have your stuff in order. You know, so you won't have to move in with her.
I think there's a ministry in being single also that no one talks about, and just making sure that you are taking care of yourself, and that when you do find your person, because I don't feel like a man is going to come along and that's going to help make you step into your feminine energy. That is something you have to get out of survival mode in order to be able to do it.
Said that.
For real, like you have to.
That's
It's a survival mode thing. Like you literally got to be in a place of like, baby, I ain't got no money, but I got joy. Oh my goodness, and God got it. You know. So I really think that is where the softness comes in of just trusting. Like, you know what, I got this. So I do think it's definitely like, you know, building yourself up, making sure that when you get there, because I think the best thing that I could have seen was someone said, people that are 25 and up or 25 or older, heal before you get in another relationship. And also, men shouldn't get in a relationship before like 25 or before they have built themselves up. Myself included. I left Georgia. I was in a 4-year relationship, and just through our building, he communicated with me like, hey, I don't want to have no marriage or anything until I am financially stable. And I can only respect that and be in a place that we both like, you know, he like, hey, if you don't want to wait, you know, I respect it. Go and find what you need. Be okay with yourself enough to where you can detach from things like that, and you can understand like this is just a part of growing up, because not everyone has the luxury of having their 20s and 30s to figure out what they need before having kids, before getting married. So I just don't think that ministry of singleness is discussed enough on like just finding who you are, and it's just not all about we've idolized marriage and relationships.
Yeah, I think
Very bad.
You really have to find out who you are, because I think that's like a really important thing, and especially for women, because a man, you find out. Most likely you find out what you're going to do. You just pursue it, right? They feel like that's what men do. But women, we need to find out who we are. Because when you find out who you are, no man can take advantage of you. So when you do find that relationship with a man who knows who he is and he's pursuing himself, and if you feel like you align with that, you can help build him. You can help, not like build him that way, but you can help like it. You can help his whatever his ventures is, help him grow. And that's one thing we talk about with one of our friends all the time. Very established man, knows what he wants to do, but he has trouble finding a girlfriend or a wife just because he is in this field, and most of these women don't align with that field. But I do also feel women, if you want to find a really good man, don't have sex with him.
Yeah, you don't have sex.
He's gonna respect you so much.
Oh, we need to do a different show.
Yeah, we got to do a show.
We need to do a different show on this one.
Hey, write that down.
Write that down. We need to do a show.
But definitely, you can't have sex. Y'all had said so many good things, y'all. I was like sitting up here writing notes and stuff like that, and one of the things you said, I think y'all were bouncing it, but just basically having a father in a home and stuff like that. And just a lot of women, I was just thinking, a lot of women don't know how to basically submit to a man is because we didn't have a father in home. So if you had a father in home, what he said, go, it went. And that was it. But if you didn't have a father in home, at the same time your mama said something, you'd be like,
there's one thing that you can do, black people, as we listen. Go talk to your elders. Go talk to your elders if they're still around. Ask questions. You know what I mean? And they can give you some answer. Now, they didn't do everything right.
Right.
Everything ain't just perfect, but you'll get some answers that you need to use in 2025 to go forward. If you can talk to some elders, well, hey, Aunt so-and-so, you was married. What's going on? How do you ask these questions? Uncle so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And it'll help you in today's marriage or even getting married. Because people used to say, well, go to church and you can find you a husband or you can find you a wife. But young people ain't going to church no more. That's not happening like it used to. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it.
When he started making born again virgins.
Yeah. So therefore, you have to seek out information. We walking around with these computers in our hands every day. That's what I call. You can get the answers to anything that you want to on these computers that we walk around with every day. So ask the computers. Stop going on these TikToks and shows and all this negativity. You know.
I think I second that. Like you were saying, Nikki,
all the time.
with the fathers not being in the home, I think a big part of my journey growing as a young woman is when I had a partner at the time, and he was telling me a lot of these different things, and I realized I didn't have a male around for me to know how to love a man, how to, fall back, how to know what he says go. And at like 23, 24, I was angry. Like, y'all asking me to show up and do something that I ain't never seen before. So it was like you have to search and find those things. But I also feel like, if you do have the opportunity to heal a relationship with your dad, I really feel like rebuilding that relationship and getting to know who he was as a young man, it did help me become a better young woman and be able to recognize like, oh, this is showing up in my relationship a lot. So I do feel like I come across a lot of women that be like, it's weird rebuilding a relationship with my daddy. It's gonna be hard, it's gonna be awkward. Do the hard things, rebuild those relationships, because like you said, having those elder relationships, I don't care if you're 56 years old and you just start talking to your daddy, reading this book, The Effects of, it's called Daddy's Little Girl, The Effects of Fatherlessness in the Black Home. And that book changed my life, because you got so many things and how you're showing up, and you don't even realize, not even having your father or having your mother in your life as a male, how that could have felt like. Because a lot of us were raised by our grandmamas. We're not talking about the males that weren't raised by, they didn't have their moms in the picture, or their mom or dad. A lot of us are, from the crack epidemic. So you got broken people that was raising broken kids, and now we're just out here trying to have
we got a lot of work
babies.
to do. It's a lot of work.
We got a lot of
I
work.
have a question in the comments. So someone said, if you are guilty of some of these things and setting certain tones within your marriage, relationship, and you have grew mentally, etc., and the other person hasn't, how do you gain the respect for change you're wanting?
I don't know.
I would say if you're in a relationship, it's probably easier to leave them. If you're in a marriage, I would encourage you to actually sit down and have that conversation with them. Let them know what you are trying to do, and ask them to have grace with you in the process, because it could be hard. It could be hard, from a man's perspective. This is something that, me and my wife personally have gone through. I hope I'm speaking to your question correctly. But we have had our fights. And a lot of times I wouldn't even recognize the fact that my wife was actually trying or maturing. But one day she just told me, she said, how could I communicate with you if when I do communicate with you, you don't hear me? And from that point on, I changed my perspective on how I view her coming to me. I don't see it as, an excuse. Now I see it as her fighting for our marriage. Because I think this is plausible. And I think if a man really wants you and he values you, if you have that sit down talk with him and communicate that to him, he would appreciate that. And maybe it could benefit you to even be transparent and be specific about the things that you have noticed about yourself. Now, if you just say that I'm working on being more feminine, and you don't express to that person what it is in particular that you're working on, then it doesn't hold as much weight. But as soon as you get specific, now there's accountability attached to it. So, and that man knows that. So when you're specific to him, he's like, okay, she's serious. But if you're not specific, it's like he's tired of hearing that same rhetoric. I'm trying. He's heard it many times before, and he's just coasting through life. okay, yeah, she's trying. But if you're specific, he's like, okay, I understand. I'll work with you. If that's not the case, then I would suggest maybe doing some relationship counseling together, where y'all going together.
Yeah, definitely. If you're in a relationship, never be afraid to leave a man. I feel like that's when because I feel like a lot of women hold themselves in places for too long where they're not valued or appreciated, and they're just in a relationship. You're just in a relationship. Just go and leave him. Like, go and find, something else that serves you or whatever. Because I feel like sometimes we try to like hold on to that person because like something of which we lack as a kid, and we want to see it to the end and work it out. But like, if you're in a relationship, just a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, just go. Never be afraid to leave, because whoever you're waiting for and the right person, you'll never find it if you never get up and feel the freedom to move on. So, but we're gonna transition all into prime time with Agri Prime, because look, they were waiting. They're
gonna stone us if you don't do it.
But we're gonna go ahead and transition. You had a topic. Let me go ahead and pop it up on here for you.
We're going to do a part 2 of this show.
We gotta.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Speaking of which.
Pulling me into it.
And Uncle Bobby will be back for part 2.
Yes, Uncle Bobby.
Oh, they were cutting up in the comment. They love what you were saying.
So glad you were here.
All right,
that's
go
it.
ahead.
All right. So our comment today, incidentally, was from Kevin Gates. I didn't even notice that. Why do men hold on to women they don't want a relationship with? Why do men hold on to women they don't want a relationship with?
Why is that?
So here's the thing. Men are territorial to a degree. In my experience and from what I've seen, typically if a man wants to be around you but won't claim you, is because something about you he feels like is going to embarrass him. Whether it's the way you dress, the way you talk, your habits, your friends, your feminist, whatever it is. Those are the things that he can't get behind. And so it's hard to put you under that covering, because men, as men, you become a reflection of us. And so I've listened to a lot of millionaires speak, and one of the things that they talk about is that one of the things I decide before I go into business with another man is I look at his wife and how she operates. If he can't manage his own home, I won't trust him to do business with. And so there is a system of women, I think, sometimes really want to change a guy. You really want to take the bad guy and turn him into the good guy. The thing is that he gave you signals up front. He didn't like you like that. You're not going to be able to change him with anything you can offer him. But for those guys who are genuinely putting an interest in you, the reason he goes hot and cold is because he can't get behind you and he can't force you to change. But here's the sad thing. I think men, we love really hard, because as a man, we love the woman in front of us. We know your beauty is eventually gonna go. We know, right? We know it's eventually gonna go.
Proverbs 31 says beauty is fleeting.
We know that, you're gonna have a period. I didn't say it now. You're gonna have your monthly. And you're going to be chemically different. Matter of fact, you're going to be different every day. And if you the person we rocking with, over time, we build that connection with you. And we begin to struggle to not have you a part of us. The problem is that a lot of the men growing up today are growing up in kind of a lack mentality, because they were raised by women. And so I think men, we hold on because we are afraid we're not going to find another one. But I think more often than not, part of the reason that she's not acquiescing to you, part of the reason she's not getting on your program, and this is going to tie back into what Richard Root said earlier in the show, is it's your fault. Because you accept her as she is. You acquiesce to her. You think you can't find another one of her. And so as long as she's the best you can do, she will not respect you. And if she don't respect you, she's not going to follow you. And if she's not going to follow you and respect you, she can't love you.
I love how he threw that stone at me. So let me clear myself. When I said, I never said the words accept her as she is. What I said is...
Oh, no, I had that part.
Oh,
that was me. Yeah, don't throw shots at him for that.
So I would say this. So I say be mindful that a woman, I spoke specifically to the fact that women are emotional. With high estrogen comes a lot of emotions. Now, I'm not saying that she shouldn't take responsibility to how she responds to that, but if that was the case too, when men are high in testosterone, men could do some crazy things, and I wouldn't say, women, just accept that. We're not talking about the toxic parts of these hormone responses. But I would say women should also consider the fact that, if you're wanting a masculine man, consider what, that high testosterone man is going to produce. And I'm not talking about toxic traits.
Yeah.
Just to clear it up, I was actually referring to the part where you was talking about it's the man's fault.
Oh, okay.
That's the stone I was throwing at you, just so you do. But go ahead, Nikki.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead into the wrap up with Richard Roots. So go ahead and wrap the show up.
I just wrapped it up. Thank you guys for tuning in to KBOB 89.9, and this is the Black Love Club, and today's guest is Ebony Jones and the very own Bobby Eaton. We thank you guys for coming in on the show.
Thank you
guys. If you have not liked and shared the live, please go ahead and do so, and go ahead and follow our guest today. But just to conclude with today's message, I love that Ebony asked us, what's the solution? Just a reminder, the solution is that we continue these conversations. And if you do have any value or wisdom to bring to the younger generation, do so. Don't withhold that information. Don't feel like there's too many podcasts out there. Your voice needs to be heard. The truth needs to be fluctuated on every media outlet. So we thank you, Uncle Bobby Eaton, for giving us this outlet so that we can speak and have these conversations. And with that, till next time, thank you for tuning in.
Yes.